welcome back to On Spec. I'm Joey, and this is an episode about the Golden Globes. They're happening this weekend, January 11th, and I'm here to give my final predictions on who is going to win the Globes, and hopefully it'll be a shorter episode than usual. We'll see, but I'm just going to go through all the nominees, and we're going to talk about who I think will take it. And my qualifications are that I don't know, and I'm just guessing. So, super excited for that, and without further ado, here we go. Alright, so I'm definitely more of an Oscar prediction guy. Like I'm more familiar with how the voters at the Oscars tend to go as opposed to the Globes. So I'm trying to like guess a little and use my knowledge of how they're different to make decisions based on that. But I do feel like this year we have a batch where I think it's gonna be pretty similar between the Globes and the Oscars, but there's definitely different considerations in play, despite just the separation of drama and comedy and musical. But I'm gonna basically go through who I think is gonna win each category, and then who could win. I think like who would be next up behind that winner. Um, but I'll get into the categories if it feels like there's a conversation to be had, but I'm just going to kind of go by if it feels like it's definitely going to be this and there's almost no doubt in my mind. Um, but I'm mainly going to focus on movies because that's mainly where my expertise kind of lies. And then TV, I definitely watch less TV. So we'll do that at the end. I do feel pretty good about my predictions for TV, but I think that'll be more just like we're having fun with it. And yeah, so I'm just going to go through in the order that they're listed on Wikipedia for the categories. So starting out, Best Motion Picture Drama. The noms are Frankenstein, Hamnet, It Was Just an Accident, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Definitely stiff competition. I mean, this season, the leaders have definitely been One Battle, Sinners, and Hamnet. Um, and so I do feel pretty confident that it'll be either Sinners or Hamnet. I think The Secret Agent has been making a good awards push lately. I think Sentimental Value is also a sleeper awards contender, but I do think ultimately it's down between Sinners and Hamnet. Um, Admittedly, Hamnet I feel is my current blind spot this season. I've seen most of these movies, and Hamnet is definitely one that's super important that I haven't had the ability to check out yet. Just hasn't been near me. I haven't been able to catch it on digital. I really do want to see that as soon as I can. So take that into consideration with these predictions, but it is a bit of an unknown quantity to me. I'm gonna say that Sinners will win. Hamnet could win just because I feel like with this season and how everything is and like with all the narratives, I think Sinners is has a significance as to why like it should win and why I think it will win, and I think voters are really going to click with Sinners. I think obviously it's a huge cultural moment, and I think that this is a place where it really probably should win. I'm gonna get into at the very end of the movie's prediction how I think this could go, which I don't think would be great. But I'm gonna have Hamnet in the two. We'll come back to this at the very end of the discussion. But I'm gonna say Sinners for Best Motion Picture Drama. But I think Hamnet is a really strong contender as well. I could really see that winning here. Then Best Motion Picture Comedy Musical. Jay Kelly, Marty Supreme, No Other Choice, One Battle, Wake Up Dead Man, Wicked for Good. I would say there's maybe not a category I'm more confident in that One Battle After Another will win. I'm like this is their award to lose. I don't think anything else here is a serious contender. I think No Other Choice and Marty Supreme um, are like definitely behind it as the next two. But One Battle, it's like this one is kind of without question. It's One Battle. for Best Motion Picture Comedy Musical. And I'm also, I guess, disclaimer a little bit deeper into this conversation. Um, I'm not basing this like off of my personal takes. Obviously, I'm influenced by my thoughts on these movies, but I'm not saying this as to how much I like these movies. I'm not. I really do love Wake Up Dead Man. I love these other movies, so it's not at all me trying to like put them down, but more so how the awards are gonna go, and I just don't think anything is gonna touch One Battle in this conversation. Because like I'm definitely biased. One Battle is my favorite movie. Marty Supreme's my next favorite movie of the year. Um, but I just don't. I don't think that there's any other possibility here for something to win. Moving on to Best Motion Picture Animated. Again, I guess this is another blind spot besides Hamnet. I just wanted to include it. But I think that it feels usually I don't predict animated picture just because I don't tend to see the nominees till maybe like after the Oscars or closer to the Oscars. But I do feel pretty confident that K-pop Demon Hunters will win this award. I think there's some other ones that look really great in this category. I really do want to see Little Amelie or the character of Rain. I think Arco seems like a contender too. But just with how the votes are gonna go, I'm pretty certain it's K-pop Demon Hunters. I don't even have anything under like could. I think if it was to be something else, it would probably be Zootopia too, just because that's gonna be the highest grossing animated film of all time. I think there's a lot of impact. I think it's a good movie. But I think that K-pop Demon Hunters has a different type of impact. Obviously, like we can't quantify it because it didn't release theatrically. But the impact of that film is so huge and wide spanning, and you have Sony Pictures Animation behind it, who did the Spider-Verse films, and I like it maintains a lot of that style. So I really see that one winning here, but I think it does bring up a very interesting narrative behind this award season with the Netflix acquisition of Warner Brothers kind of looming in the background, where it's do what does it say if the Globes are rewarding the biggest streaming animated film over the biggest theatrical animated film of all time, Zootopia 2. And obviously award shows, they should be based more on quality. I haven't seen all these movies, so I can't speak to what I think would be the quality winner. But I think it does say something that K-pop Demon Hunters would beat out Zootopia 2 when Zootopia 2 is going to be the biggest animated motion picture of all time. Um, but I think K-pop Demon Hunters, I feel pretty confident about it. Um, just that film has been critically received super well, not only its impact. So I think that's pretty locked in. Best Motion Picture Non-English. This is an extremely tight category this year, especially because it feels like so many of these films are contenders for Best Picture. The six nominees here, there's a world. I mean, I don't think we live in that world, but there's a world where five out of the six, I think, could have made it into Best Picture at the Oscars. So we have It Was Just an Accident, No Other Choice, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Seurat, and The Voice of Hein Rajab. I don't think Seurat or The Voice of Hein Rajab will take this. I just don't think they have the groundswell. Um, I think my pick is going to be Sentimental Value. I think that one feels the strongest pick for this category with the momentum it has behind it. I could see No Other Choice taking it. I think that's a realistic guess to make. Um, I've heard it excluded from a lot of conversations this award season, but I do think it's a really strong film. I think that it's very relevant. I think it's very entertaining. I think it has a very good pace, and I could see it being something that Globes voters would connect with more than something that's a bit slower like Sentimental Value. So I do really think it's a toss up there. I could just as easily see No Other Choice taking it, but I think the name recognition of sentimental value, like you have cast of stars there who I think are going to be nominated across, or who have been nominated across all categories at the Globes. I think that helps its case. But I think it's between those two. It was just an accident, also an extremely strong contender. I could see it going there. I could see it going to The Secret Agent. That's another extremely strong film in the award season this year. But I do think it's between sentimental value and no other choice. But it could just as easily go to basically any of these. It's such a strong category, and it's so cool to see kind of how thriving voters are with like these types of films. So it's very cool. I've seen 4 out of the 6. I do need to see the last two, but yeah, these are some amazing films. I'm glad that they're being recognized. I'm glad that a lot of them are crossing over into the main like best motion picture categories. I think we've seen so many more international films making it into the major categories, and that's been a really cool thing to see. Best actor drama. This one is tough. This one is really, really, really tough. Um, it's a competitive year in like almost every category. I feel like there's some years where it doesn't feel that way, but I'm like there are some toss ups here. So for drama, we have Joel Edgerton, Train Dreams, Oscar Isaac, Frankenstein, Dwayne Johnson for The Smashing Machine, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent, and Jeremy Allen White for Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere. I'm gonna eliminate Jeremy Allen White for Springsteen, Oscar Isaac, and Dwayne Johnson. I don't see any of them taking it for this. My pick for who I think is going to get it is Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. This is another one I haven't had the chance to see yet. I really am excited to see it, but it feels like he might be the front runner for Best Actor just generally this year. It feels like he's duking it out with the other I don't even this category is so competitive. I can't even fully tell who the front runners are because there are so many people who feel poised to win this award. And they all feel on pretty equal footing, but I think it's going to be him. I think Wagner Moore is going to take it for The Secret Agent. I think Michael B. Jordan is very close behind for Sinners. I think Joel Edgerton for Train Dreams is also close behind. It did feel like he had a very strong narrative when Train Dreams came out, and then since then that idea has faded a little bit. I don't think he's as strong as a contender as he once was. But I mean, I think that performance is amazing, and I hope that he's recognized at some shows. I think that I kind of hope that the award goes to a ton of different people at a ton of different shows. But I think that Wagner Moura has it. And then I would put Michael B. Jordan in the 2 for Sinners. But I do feel like with everything we've seen up to this point, I think it's gonna be Moura. Um, Best Actress drama. This one I think is one of the most certain of the whole night. Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. I haven't seen it, but like it feels almost like unopposed that she will win this. Um, I just don't see any of the other nominees taking it over her. I think also a lot of the people you see in the conversations for Best Actress overall actually have ended up in the comedy musical category this year, which is interesting. I feel like that's been a trend the last few Globes where it feels like the comedy musical categories contain a lot of the acting frontrunners, which is interesting. Um, but yeah, I don't see Jennifer Lawrence taking it. I think her strongest challenge would be Renate Reinsve for Sentimental Value. Um, I could see her being the runner up, but I don't see anyone usurping Jessie Buckley in this category. She is going to win for Hamnet. But it is cool to see some of the other noms. I personally really liked Julia Roberts' performance in After the Hunt. I'm glad to see that recognized. Tessa Thompson in Hedda is also a good shout, and Ava Victor for Sorry Baby. Sorry Baby is one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm so glad that it was recognized in some way. I hope that it can get into the Oscars in some category. Um, just even if like I think screenplay would be extremely strong and warranted. But definitely one of my favorite performances of the year. I'm super glad to see them nominated in this category. And then I guess moving on to Best Actor, Comedy Musical, I think it's gonna be Timmy. I think that this is another one that feels really competitive. Um, but I think it's gonna be Timmy for Marty Supreme. I don't think it's gonna be Clooney for Jay Kelly, and I don't think it's gonna be Plemons for Begonia. The other noms, I think it's tight. I think his biggest challenger is Leo for One Battle. I think that's kind of the narrative of the season. Um, they're two superstars as well. Like they're like probably the two biggest actors of their respective generations. Um, but I think Timmy from Marty has it over Leo. Just everything we've seen this season, I think that he's gonna get it. I think Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon is also a dark horse type of contender. Um, but I ultimately don't think that he's gonna take it at this kind of show. I think that this in the Oscars, I don't think so, but maybe something like the SAG Awards, I could see Ethan Hawke taking it. We need to get closer to that before I like lock that in. But I don't think that Ethan Hawke's gonna take it here. And I think the true dark horse is Lee Byung Hun for No Other Choice. Amazing performance. I could see that being like a sneaky upset because he's so good in that movie, and it feels like there's a lot of people who really love that movie. Um, and so I mean, I don't know if I could see him overtaking Timmy or Leo, but I think he'd be in the three for me, like in terms of how I think the vote would come out. But I guess we'll just have to see. But I just want to put it out there. I think it's gonna be Timmy. And then, but I would stay vigilant for Leo and Lee Byung Hun. Okay, so moving on to Best Actress Comedy Musical, we have Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked for Good, Kate Hudson for Song Song Blue, Chase Infinity for One Battle, Amanda Seyfried for Ann Lee, and Emma Stone for Begonia. I think it's going to be Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs. I think that this is possibly the best performance of the year. I There was a period where I really wasn't expecting it to get recognition almost at all, with how it felt like the season was going. But it's really cool to see it here, and I think that she has a really good chance of taking this. I think the biggest competitors, I don't think it's gonna be Cynthia. I don't think it's gonna be Kate Hudson. I don't think it's gonna be Amanda Seyfried, but I think that she's a stronger contender. I also don't feel like Emma Stone's gonna take it for Bugonia. People love Emma Stone; she's beloved, but it doesn't feel like in award circles that movie has um, gotten as much like love and attention. So I think it's Rose Byrne, and then I would put in right behind her Chase Infinity for One Battle. Um, I think that that's another just amazing breakout performance. I love her in that movie. I would probably put her in the two. I guess I would go Rose Byrne, then Chase Infinity, then Amanda, then Emma Stone, then Cynthia, then Kate Hudson in terms of likelihood. But again, super competitive. I do think it's gonna be Rose, maybe Chase, but I feel pretty good with Rose Byrne. Best Supporting Actor. Another one that is insanely tight and competitive, and somehow it also feels like there's a snub. Like it's crazy. It's a crazy year. I don't even know who I would switch him out for, but it feels like Delroy Lindo, like for Sinners, really should have been here. Because that's such an amazing performance. That might be my like personal favorite performance of the film. I love Delroy Lindo. Like I feel like he's been under recognized forever. So that would have been really cool. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. But for who we do have here, I think this one's really tough to predict. I don't think it's gonna go to Sandler for Jay Kelly. I do really love him in Jay Kelly. I don't think it's gonna go to Paul for Hamnet. I think it's between Benicio for One Battle, Sean Penn for One Battle, Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value, and Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein. It's really tough. It's really tough. I would say my least likely would maybe be Sean Penn, which is crazy to say, because I do think that's probably my favorite supporting actor performance of the year. But just with how everything's gone this season, I don't see him. I see him probably being the least likely out of the people I think could take it. Then I would probably say Stellan for Sentimental Value. It really did feel like he was a front runner for a while, but I think that the narrative has changed a little. And then I would put in two Benicio for One Battle, and then I think Jacob Elordi's gonna take it for Frankenstein. Maybe I'm being swayed by the Critic Awards last week, but I think that Benicio and Penn are going to split the vote a little, both being there for One Battle, and I think that that's really gonna allow Elordi to pull ahead in front of Del Toro. Um, but I mean, amazing performance from Jacob. I really could see him doing that. I mean, that's gonna be the same way as the critic awards from last week, but yeah, I feel pretty good about that. But again, I'd probably say Benicio in the two, Jacob Elordi in the one, and then keep an eye on Stellan, keep an eye on Penn. Best supporting actress, another crazy snub. Wunmi Mosaku, not nominated for Sinners. That felt like, I don't even know. I was like, that's crazy. That's super crazy. I'm like, I don't know if she's gonna get nominated at the Oscars. She deserves to be here. And like, bro, it's, I don't know. I don't know. It's such a crazy snub. It's such a crazy snub. But for supporting actress, who we do have, Emily Blunt, Elle Fanning, Ariana Grande, Inga Ibsdottir, Amy Madigan, and Tiana Taylor. I don't think it's gonna be Inga. I don't think it's gonna be Elle. I don't think it's gonna be Emily. I think it's between Ariana, Amy Madigan, and Tiana Taylor. I think for the Globes, Ariana is going to take it for Wicked for Good. I do think that that's where my prediction is right now. I think she won it last year, which actually might work against her. But I think super close behind her on her tail is Amy Madigan as Aunt Gladys in Weapons. I think that is like neck and neck. Again, like maybe I'm being swayed by how the Critics Awards went last week, but I think that these two are just like iconic performances, and I think the Globes really like that. And they're like such distinct characters. They're so elevated. But I really could see it going either way. I think that Ariana has the slight advantage right now, but I could just as easily see it going to Amy Madigan. I think that one, I'm truly like up until the last second at the show, I'm gonna not have a clue who it's gonna be. In the three, I think who also could win is Tiana Taylor for One Battle. She is amazing, but I do feel like she's gonna have a better time at the Oscars. I feel like better predicting Tiana for the Oscars. I think we're too far out right now to really get into concrete Oscar predictions, but I think that Tiana's gonna take the Oscar, but I think that Globes voters just go like a slightly different direction. So I'm gonna say Ariana and Amy and the two. Okay, so the next two categories, best director, best screenplay, my predictions are gonna kind of go in tandem. I feel pretty good about these. But for best director, we have PTA for One Battle, Coogler for Sinners, Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein, Joaquin Trier for Sentimental Value, Jafar Panahi for It Was Just an Accident, and Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. This is really strong. I mean, these are a lot of great directors. Like this is a tough year, but I do feel like it's between PTA and Coogler. I do feel like it is them kind of duking it out in these categories, but also in the best picture categories, and like any category they're up against each other, which is also super interesting. Both Warner films are campaigning them against each other, and it doesn't feel like they've shown a favorite in terms of campaigning. It feels like they've done both of those films justice. um, so it's really interesting to see them duke it out. I think it's between them, and then for best screenplay, we have PTA for One Battle, Ronnie Bronstein and Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Coogler for Sinners, Jafar Panahi for It Was Just an Accident, Eskil Vogt and Joaquin Trier for Sentimental Value, and Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. A lot of overlap between screenplay and director, basically the same films nominated, except the Marty screenplay is there, and the Frankenstein Guillermo del Toro director is there. I think again screenplay. I think it's between PTA and Coogler. I think whoever wins director, the other will win screenplay, and vice versa. If I had to put in a prediction, I'm gonna say PTA will take director, and Coogler will take screenplay. I think I think that feels like it makes sense, but I could just as easily see it um, going the other way. But either way, those are going to be the two that I think are really gonna take it in this category. Personally, though, bro, that Marty screenplay, that like man, like I'm happy to see them there. And like 6 years ago, when it was award season, early 2020, I wanted to see them there so bad for Uncut Gems and all those categories. I think that is probably the biggest snub in any awards for the last however many years. So to see them here now from Marty is so cool. But yeah, that's definitely really cool. But again, everyone in this category is so good, especially in the screenplay category. Like these are all amazing, amazing screenplays. I would love to see It Was Just an Accident take home something. I think the way the season has gone, it's definitely like Coogler versus PTA. Um, but I would love to see Jafar Panahi get some love because that is an amazing film. These are all amazing films, but like something about that film, like I would love to see him get some kind of recognition here, especially when it feels like the non-English category is so tight. But yeah, director and screenplay, I think it's gonna be PTA and Coogler, 1-1. I'm gonna say PTA director, Coogler screenplay. Best original score, another tight one, another snub. I think Daniel Lopatin for Marty Supreme should be here. Like that is in my opinion one of the best scores of the 2020s. Probably in like the top 10. But again, it's gonna be a similar story here. We have Alexandre Desplat for Frankenstein, Ludwig Göransson for Sinners, Johnny Greenwood for One Battle, Kang Ding Ray for Seurat, Max Richter for Hamnet, and Hans Zimmer for F1. Again, similar story. It's between Sinners and One Battle. I think Ludwig Göransson for Sinners is going to take this. I would put Johnny Greenwood in the 2. I think he could take it, but I do think it's between them in this category again. Which these are maybe boring predictions that I'm pretty much saying it's going to be One Battle or Sinners for a lot of these. But I do think that's the reality of how the show feels right now and how the season feels right now. I would probably say that Hamnet and F1 feel like other strong contenders. I know I've like heard some of the music for Hamnet. I think that that one feels very strong, but it doesn't feel like it has the buzz. And then F1, I'm also just throwing in a mention there because it's Hans Zimmer, and so Hans Zimmer, like, he's kind of got that seniority a little bit. But I do think it's going to Sinners. Like I feel pretty confident that Ludwig is going to win this for Sinners, and then could be Johnny Greenwood. That One Battle score is super iconic. But I think it's between those two again. Okay, so now, okay, wait. I'm gonna wait a second. I'm gonna skip around a little with the categories. Let's do best original song next. We have Dream as One from Avatar, The Girl in the Bubble from Wicked, Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters, I Lied to You from Sinners, No Place Like Home from Wicked, and Train Dreams from Train Dreams. I think I feel pretty locked that this is gonna be Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. I feel like that song has broken through in a lot of ways, and like it's just so big. Like the size and scale and commercial success of that song, separated from the film, even, is just so massive that I really see it taking this. I think, and I think it should probably win, is "I Lied to You" from Sinners. Amazing, amazing, amazing song. I hope to see it. I hope to see it take this. I think it might have better chances at the Oscars as opposed to the Globes. Um, but I mean, like, especially its context in the film, like, that's just such an amazing song. I really, really hope to see it take it. Um, but yeah, Golden is a good song. Golden is a good song too. But I think it's between those two. Something that is very sad this season is that it feels like the Wicked 2 original songs. Last year we were talking about Wicked Part 2, like, is gonna have the original songs. It's gonna be in the bag for Cynthia, even if she didn't at the 2025 Oscars. She didn't become the youngest EGOT. Next year she'll be able to tie, and it feels like, Sinners and K-pop Demon Hunters sprung up, and it doesn't feel like these Wicked songs are part of the conversation anymore. And so I do feel very bad for Cynthia because she's so talented and amazing. Um, and so like it does suck that we were having those conversations last year, and then now it kind of doesn't feel like that's being considered at all. But those are good songs too. I think those are good songs, but I think that it's between K-pop and Sinners. Okay, so now for the last award, which usually I wouldn't care about. Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award is kind of like a made up award that the Golden Globes did, kind of controversially. We have Avatar Fire and Ash, F1, K-pop Demon Hunters, Mission Impossible, Sinners, Weapons, Wicked, Zootopia 2. Um, I think the reason this category feels so important this year is because I think it's going to influence the other categories. Because going back to the very first category we talked about, Best Motion Picture Drama, I said I think Sinners is going to take it over Hamnet. But I think those are the top two. I think it could kind of go either way, but I'm leaning towards Sinners. Um, the reality, which I think would be kind of insulting, is that Hamnet wins Best Motion Picture Drama, and then Sinners gets Cinematic and Box Office Achievement as kind of a consolation prize. I'm pretty sure that happened to Barbie back during the 2024 awards year, but I don't think that's, I don't know. I don't think that's a great way for it all to go down. Um, but I very much could see that happening. I'm gonna remain with Sinners in the best motion picture drama. Um, and then for cinematic and box office achievement, I do still feel like Sinners is probably the front runner. Um, if it wins um, best motion picture drama, I could see them maybe wanting to spread the wealth a little, feeling like it's already been recognized and like that major category. I think some other strong ones. I think F1 is very strong. I do feel like F1 is very strong. That might be my next up if it's not Sinners, because I think that they're going to want to recognize that movie. I think there's a lot of like craft aspects that don't really happen at the Globes that I think F1 is probably the leader in. So I could definitely see F1 taking it. I could see Weapons taking it, especially if it doesn't hit any of these other awards. Like if it doesn't pick up Best Supporting Actress, I think this could be a place to recognize Weapons, as that's such a huge cultural moment. Um, and then I could also very much see K-pop Demon Hunters taking this, which, back to this whole streaming conversation, it's not necessarily, it didn't have much box office achievement because it's not released in theaters. So it feels very kind of funny for it to be nominated here in a cinematic and box office achievement category, which feels very centered in the movie theater experience. And this movie was not really experienced in theaters, which I think is a detractor for it. But I don't really see it going to Avatar. I don't see it going to Mission Impossible. I don't see it going to Wicked, which all feel like crazy things to say, but I think with how everything's gone, it does not feel that way. I don't think Zootopia 2, but the amount of money that movie made, I kind of could see it, but I do think it's between Sinners, Weapons, K-pop, F1. I'm leaning towards Sinners or F1, then probably Weapons, then K-pop. But I think, I mean, like, this is kind of a, it's hard to judge. I don't really know what the criteria for this category is besides an abstract idea of what cinematic and box office achievement means. But I think it's interesting to talk about because of how it might affect best motion picture drama. With that, let's move on to the TV series. Okay, I'm gonna breeze through these a little bit quicker just because I'm not in the weeds. I'm not in the weeds with TV. Best TV series drama, The Pit. I think The Pit has this in the bag. I think with how everything's gone, it's gonna be The Pit. I could see Severance. I could see White Lotus, but I think The Pit has this pretty easily. Best TV series comedy musical. Again, I feel like the studio has this very easily. I don't even have anything else under could win. I think with how the season's gone, I think it's gonna be the studio. I could see maybe Hacks getting it, but like I think it's between those two. Best limited series TV or movie, again, I think it's Adolescence, without a doubt, no question. Nothing else under could win. Best performance in stand-up comedy, I have no clue. I don't think I'd even mention it besides when I looked into it. It feels like these are not well liked stand-up comedy specials. Like this category feels out of touch with what people want. I'm shocked to see no Sarah Sherman. Like I heard that comedy special was super cool and revolutionary and funny and like it feels like what are Bill Maher, Ricky Gervais, like what are we doing? Like what are we doing here? I would maybe say Kumail or Brett Goldstein just because they feel very beloved. That's gonna be what I'm gonna throw out there. People seem to love those guys. Maybe I'll say Brett because people love Ted Lasso. Golden Globes I think love Ted Lasso, so I'm gonna say Brett Goldstein. Best actor drama again. There's some amazing performances here, but I think it's gonna be Noah Weil for The Pit. Like I don't even have a could win. It's gonna be Noah Weil for The Pit. Adam Scott's great. Mark Ruffalo's great. Gary Oldman's great. Sterling K. Brown's great. Diego Luna's great. Under talked about performance in Andor, but I think it's gonna be Noah Weil for The Pit. Best actress drama. This one's hard. This is the first one where I feel like there's like genuine question. I'm gonna go out on a limb a little bit. I'm gonna say Rhea Seehorn for Pluribus. And like I say this as someone who was like every year Better Call Saul came out, I was like she has to win this year for Kim in Better Call Saul because she's that good. And every year she got just like it was like nope, nope, nope. The show ended. I was like for sure it's the last season. She's amazing in it and like it felt like hers to win and it was just like nope. And like I think that with the moment Pluribus is and like all the attention she's getting as the lead. I pray. Like I feel like this is her moment. I think that she's gonna get recognized for this. I could also see Kathy Bates for Matlock. I could see Britt Lower for Severance. I think those are two people who also feel like super competitive for this, definitely deserving. Obviously, Kathy Bates is a legend. Severance is so big. Helly is iconic. I don't see Helen Mirren getting it from Mobland. I don't see Bella Ramsey for Last of Us. I don't see Carrie Russell for The Diplomat. I'm going to say Rhea Seehorn with Kathy Bates and Britt Lover trailing a little bit. Best Actor Comedy Musical. Again, another one that's, I think, easy. I think it's going to be Seth Rogen, The Studio. I can maybe see Martin Short, Only Murders in the Building runner up, but Seth has just been like dominant in awards this year. And I think like The Studio is just going to take it here. Um, but I think there's a lot of other people in here who definitely are like awards favorites. Jeremy Allen White, Adam Brody for No One Wants This, Steve Martin, obviously Glenn Powell's here, but I think it's Seth. Like there's no to me Seth Rogen for The Studio. I don't think there's any question. Best Actress Comedy Musical. I think dominant, absolutely dominant in awards. I think it's gonna be Jean Smart for Hacks. I think that she's gonna take this again. I could maybe see Io for the Bear, even in a softer season critically for the Bear. I think people always view her as a high point, so it's worth a mention. But I think Jean has it. I don't see Kristen Bell. I don't see Selena. I don't see Natasha. I don't see Jenna Ortega. Yeah, I think it's gonna be Jean Smart, maybe Io, but I think it's really gonna be Jean. Best Actor, limited movie. Again, it feels like no question. It's gonna be Stephen Graham for Adolescence. Like Adolescence, I think feels like such a like steamroller in any category it's in. Like it's so acclaimed. It's such an awards juggernaut at this point. I think it's like it's him. Like it's him in this category, and that's that. Best Actress, limited movie. This one, honestly, I think was the most challenging. I feel like I'm the least familiar with the stuff in here. I'm gonna say Michelle Williams, Dying for Sex. That's the show that I've probably heard the most about and heard the best critical things about. And Michelle Williams is obviously beloved. I think Claire Danes is probably my runner-up. The Beast in Me, I could see it going to her. But everyone here is great. Robin Wright. I didn't hear the best things about The Girlfriend. Rashida Jones, obviously, is amazing. Black Mirror, I don't think she would take it for that. Amanda Seyfried, I don't know if she'd take it for Long Bright River. Maybe Sarah Snook, just because she's another person who's like an awards darling, beloved. But I think it's going to be Michelle Williams or Claire Danes. Again, Best Supporting Actor, it's Owen Cooper for Adolescence. There's like, I would maybe give a shout to Walton Goggins for The White Lotus, but it feels like it's going to be Owen Cooper. There's like no question. And then Best Supporting Actress, this one's tough. This one's really, really, really tough. I'm gonna say Hannah Einbinder for Hacks, which I feel like Hacks is super dominant with awards its whole run, but she's so great in that show, and like I think in this category it feels like she's probably still the person who makes the most sense. I'm gonna say Erin Doherty for Adolescence as like could win. I think she could win. I think her only being in one episode might hurt it, but obviously she's great in that one episode. And then you have the White Lotus crew. I don't know necessarily who out of Carrie Coon, Parker Posey, Amy Lou would be able to like pull ahead, and I think they're also going to split the vote amongst people who want to vote for White Lotus. Um, I would maybe say I don't even know. I don't think that any of the three of them are gonna touch Hannah Einbinder or Erin Doherty. But I mean, I think it is a possibility that White Lotus, like that season, is huge. All of them were so good in it. Like, but I just don't know who even to say would come ahead there. And then I don't think it'll go to Catherine O'Hara for the studio, but obviously she's great in that. And then just like on a fun little ending note, best podcast, new category. We have Armchair Expert. We have Call Her Daddy. We have Good Hang with Amy Poehler. We have the Mel Robbins podcast. We have Smartless, and we have Up First. So this would be the inaugural winner of the category. I feel pretty good about it going to Good Hang with Amy Poehler. I think Amy Poehler's beloved. I think just like that show feels like a moment, like it just kind of started, and so it feels very fresh. I could see it going to Mel Robbins. I think she's like very well liked. I think Smartless also like a group of well liked people, but like everyone loves Amy Poehler. So I think it's gonna be Amy Poehler. I mean NPR Up First like could take it, but I feel good. I'm gonna lock it in. Good hang Amy Poehler. I guess in the description, maybe I'll put like a link to my document for all these movies and TV who I think will win. Honestly, you know what? You need to listen to understand. I'll put it up when we recap who did win, what I got right, what I got wrong, who I was kind of right about in the coulds. But yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about this when the awards actually hit. I guess to wrap it up, what I've been watching, it's been so long since the last episode that I've watched a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to focus on things I've watched now in the first week of 26 and stuff. TV, I guess this was the end of 25, but TV, I saw Heated Rivalry. I watched the whole season in like 2 days. Fire. It was awesome. It was sick. It was dope. It was awesome. Stranger Things season 5. I watched as well. It was good. I liked it, but you know, I think that obviously people have complaints with the fifth season. I think that it's probably the weakest out of all the seasons of Stranger Things. But personally, I did like the finale. I thought the finale felt good. I was like, this is a satisfying ending to the show. I think it worked. Um, I think it's funny to see people thinking that there's gonna be another episode. Um, there's definitely not gonna be another episode of that show. Um, but it feels like good closure. And I'm like, I get Star Wars adults now, like people who grew up with the original Star Wars movies, who are like, don't touch it, and their aversion to the sequels. I'm like, I get it. I don't want any more Stranger Things. Let it be. Let it lie. Because I thought the finale was good. I thought the finale was good. Sue me. Sue me. Um, no Other Choice I watched. Fire. Sentimental Value was amazing. Um, I got to see Splitsville, which was a surprise one, which I thought was like amazing. Like those three were like awesome movies. I was like super super happy with them. I got to check out EFIS. I got to check out Presence. Some smaller releases from 25. So it's definitely been a lot of viewing, a lot of watching. Um, I'm pretty caught up on like 2025 movies. It's just I'm like knocking out some smaller ones that I didn't get to see. The biggest ones I still want to see are Hamnet and The Testament of Anne Lee. Those two, I'm dying to see. And is this thing on? I'm gonna put it out there. Bradley Cooper, I think, is often a better director than he is writer, and so I'm not counting him out. I want to see that. I do want to see that. I thought Maestro was extremely interesting. If nothing else, it was extremely interesting and well directed, and very well directed. Um, but yeah, so that wraps it up for this. It was a shorter episode. We're under an hour. No news, just because I did not feel like it. The news is that the Golden Globes are this Sunday, January 11th, so you need to tune in. It's the biggest night in Hollywood. It's the second biggest night in Hollywood. Um, Maybe actually it's probably the third biggest night in Hollywood. So please tune in. It'll be great. I'm sure it'll be awesome. I'll be watching. I'll be watching. Maybe honestly, maybe we could pull an upset. Best podcast. Maybe we can get some write-ins for this. Like maybe we get some write-ins. But yeah, thank you for listening. Write this in for best podcast. I'm sure that we can still get some votes in last minute. Stop the count. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I'm grateful if you made it this far. Hopefully it's not a waste of time. Hopefully some of these are right and you'll be like, wow, I kind of had an idea on why that would happen. And I hope to do this for more shows. We're definitely going to do it for the Oscars. But yeah, thank you so much. Have a great week. Check out whatever's in theaters. Slow January, but whatever's in theaters near you, we're getting some of these smaller movies hitting wide release in different areas. So go check them out. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Peace.